that work mode instead of getting to have more of that personal time to get to know each other and relate. And we just had such great, easy conversation and some depth of conversation. So again, I just want to thank you guys for joining me. I hope that today I can share motivation for empowering you guys in positive ways to accomplish your goals and to chase those big dreams of yours. So if anybody wants to share a dream of theirs, please, I love all the interaction. I hope that this can be something where you're sitting at home, you've got your laptop next to you, pen and paper, whatever it is that can allow you to make some intentions, set some goals, and open your mind and your heart to all the amazing things that this industry has to offer, and to be able to do so successfully. So I'm here to share with you guys today a little bit of my background. I've been a stylist in the industry for 10 years. I've been a business owner for the last 5 of those years, starting out from coming from an apprenticeship where I studied, worked really hard, moved through that program, grew personally, professionally, and of course skillfully. And I moved through that and I went on to booth renting. So that's when I began being my own boss. From there, I moved into having the incredible, awesome, amazing opportunity to be one of the original co-creators, co-owners of Pulp Riot Hair Color Company, which became the fastest growing beauty company in history. So I got to be there before it had a name, before it had a direction. I got to be a part of collaborating. I got to be a part of being a part of a team. I got to learn a lot of humbling lessons along the way. And that also allowed me to become, as of the last 2.5 years, a salon owner. And a salon owner from a small scale. And I'm going to share with you guys the struggles I faced within that and valuable lessons I learned, how that kind of built a great foundation for where I am today. This is my second salon. I built both within 1 year, from start of year to the end of the year. And yeah, I failed my way to success. And so hopefully I can share with you guys what it means to have a leadership mindset, how to become successful by having that mindset, sharing that mindset, and inspiring those that are around you to embody the same beliefs and same practices. So let's see if I can see any comments. Did anybody want to share with us any of their goals? So some of my dreams, some of my goals, I know I just shared a little rough background about my history, but after leaving hair school, it dramatically changed how I was as a person and the value I thought educators had, you know, those direct mentors. And I knew I wanted to be an educator, hands down, knew I wanted to. Looks like Crystal wanted to as well. I want to be I want to make a mark in the fashion industry, I think is what it said. I'm able to see a little bit of your guys' comments. So hopefully you guys keep sending them in and I'll continue to follow with those. So I wanted to be an educator. I knew because on the first day of hair school, the school said that we're going to test how you learn. And I shared a video on my Instagram just recently, a 30-minute long video, but it talks about who I am before hair and how I had to struggle from life circumstances and learning disabilities to be able to find a career and to move to a place in order to have a career, and how lucky I feel as a hairstylist and how many opportunities I've been able to receive from this amazing industry. So this leadership mindset is so important because when I have taken these years to be in these different situations of being on the Pulp Riot team, building my own businesses and building my culture, and really identifying what it meant to be a leader, I kind of unraveled a lot about myself. Thanks. This actually is handmade. My husband made that. It's usually hanging out back there. This is our lovely grass wall. If you guys want, or at the end of this, I'll show you our prize and jewel our floral chandeliers. Give you, maybe we'll do an MTV Cribs style salon tour. But yeah, so I wanted to share with you guys that relationships are so important. And as hairstylists, one of the things that I have been really open about and something that really means a lot to me is we are in the business of serving people. And the responsibility down to its core foundation as a hairdresser is that we have the most unique profession there is. We build a network like no other because we are diverse and we have a diversity of clients that we serve. And that means when your client's coming in, what does it mean to put their needs above your own? How can we practice putting away our ego and allowing that time to be set for them and what their individual needs are? As a hairstylist, salon owner, business, girl boss, I have shifted different times in my business practice of just fitting people in or being the social media socialite and having to capture everything and brand everything and put myself out there, and all these expectations that became upon me about 5 or 6 years ago, and that was only about 4 years into my career. And the relationships elements have allowed me to see how successful people can be when they utilize teamwork and when they can embody and uphold those actions. So I want to ask you guys, when you think about leadership, by definition, leadership is defined as an action of leading a group or an organization, right? That's not pretty descriptive. It just says you're the leader and you're leading. And we know that we see that every day in our world and our businesses and our economies and people that motivate others. We already see that leadership is the action of doing that. But it doesn't describe the characteristics of what a great leader or a good leader or an exceptional leader looks like or is or embodies. So I want to ask you guys if you agree with that. And I want to ask you guys to think of some qualities of a leader that you feel leaves and makes the greatest impacts. The reason I asked you to ask this is because one critical thing I did in my second salon, XO Hair Lab, that I did not do in my first salon, XO Hair Studio, is I hired my friends. I hired people as booth renters who operated their hours individually, their prices individually, their artistic ability individually, but were under the same guidelines as a professional business, right? I just want to ask you guys, I know we saw attitude, what are some qualities that you think makes up a great leader? Because in my second salon, my interview questions were so much more different than the first time around, because I wanted to really get to know the person in the interview. I have a huge heart, so I just want to take everybody in. And I still have had to learn how guarded that space needed to be. So I see a couple of you guys answering. Awesome. And someone who's a leader and not a boss. Optimistic, selflessness. Oh, I love these. Perfect, guys. I'm going to keep up with your comments. Honest, fair, somebody who wants to teach. Willingness to grow. Helpful and understanding. Absolutely. Thank you guys for adding your influence, because here it is. You guys can see it. So when I asked that second time around building my salon, when I watched the failure happening with my first salon, knowing there was not a lot I could do, I asked a really important question. We have open and honest. I asked, what do you expect from a leader? So I wanted to know each individual that I was possibly bringing around me, that I was going to build into my circle, my family, what did they expect from me? And it was important for me to know each individual. And you guys are already nailing this list: transparency, sincere help. That's right. Right? So here's a few that are my favorite, and here's a few that I think can resonate with all of us, okay? So stay with me, guys. You guys are all sharing great ones, people that are role models. These are really going to fit into here, and we're going to elaborate a little bit more and go a little bit more in depth with them as well. What makes a great leader? Number one I have is that they are resilient. And I think right now resiliency is something that we should be speaking about. It's something that we should be, as much as we're struggling, especially during this time, it's not lost upon me, but we need to have a resiliency to us. Think about the cat that has 9 lives. And think about this characteristic is usually and typically for those of us that are creative. This is our moments to shine. Resiliency, thinking creatively, being flexible to the plan, knowing that most of the time things are not going to go according to our plan. But if we stay focused, when we are intentional, when we are passionate, it will allow us to stay more focused. And through that, we're able to have a more flexible plan to still reaching our goals. So being resilient, being creative, I think is a good attribute in that. Other ways to be resilient. We need leaders that are transparent. It's important to be clear and open, but not to overshare. We need to create a good and healthy and vulnerable relationship without creating doubt. You don't want people around you to have doubt in you or to exploit any insecurities that you might have yourself. This is a note to you guys who are really hard on yourselves and expect a lot of yourselves. You're overly judging yourselves, overly judging others around you. Sometimes being a little bit more internal with those things allows you to move through your own challenges yourself without clouding out and making more distractions for yourself. Hold yourself accountable. Keep those things that you want to work on, at a healthy share. They have to be emotionally intelligent. I think that being emotionally intelligent is pretty important. And I think that we have to make sure that we are really understanding those that work around us, and especially as a leader, as somebody who is a boss, I need to know everybody who works for me. I expect my team to kind of know that roughly around each other, but it is my job and my responsibility to know each individual that works on my team and what their needs are. Passionate. We need to have passionate leaders because that is our why. If you don't know your why, that's not the flame. And we always have to have the flame because the flame is what drowns out those sacrifices. For me personally, I've yet to have a honeymoon, and this November I'll be celebrating 10 years married. I've never had a weekend getaway even with just my husband. Everything's been work, 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 work. And it has to be what you're passionate about. It has to be what you're willing to sacrifice. It has to be that you can campaign and rally and inspire and motivate others, because great leaders have influence, right? You have to have an influence. That's what I hate the word influencer because I liked impact a lot more, but influencing is what every great motivational speaker has done. Every great leader has done. They've been able to influence by their passion. Right? Do you guys agree? Diplomatic. We need leaders that are diplomatic. The biggest thing about being a leader, and the biggest thing about being a teammate, and the biggest thing about keeping yourself balanced or in a good rhythm is that you have to be diplomatic. You have to know how to focus in on what you're good at and to, really maximize your strengths while working on your weaknesses, right? Don't throw them out the window. But it's important that we outsource to our team, that we collaborate. People find more value and more importance, and they believe in being a part of a business outside of monetary benefits and needs for the culture, for the business, for the team, for the relationships when they feel of value. So it's important to not think of us as I and me, and you want to think of yourself as somebody who's on a team and who's willing and excited and happy to share the ball, pass the ball, and watch them score, right? We need to celebrate people, and people need to be diplomatic and be able to communicate well, and to be able to, in saying that, also be able to share the weight of the business, because everyone needs to have value. We need leaders that are open-minded, right? Because we all have great ideas. We all have things to give and to offer. And that's, again, going back to what we just shared. It's important that we feel of value and that we're able to gain positive confidence through being of value, right? It's kind of a human need outside of business, right? And we need people to be open-minded. We need to be not afraid to speak up. We need to not be afraid to share ideas. We need to not be afraid to be the over-enthusiastic penguin. That's me. That's somebody that's really passionate and just wants to get in there and do everything. And that energy is a little bit manic, but comes from a good place. We need to be less judgmental, open-minded, flexible, and always positive. Always positive, guys. A positive attitude will go so far. And a lot of people in this generation, they split up and generalize. Baby boomers, who are like my mom's generation, my grandparents' generation, I would be considered a millennial. Then we have Generation X, right? And in saying that, everybody has different needs and goals and things to allow them to personally develop and professionally develop and move through those relationships. But we have to be open-minded to what the needs are, because some of us can be approached very like directly, and some of us need a little bit of a more empathetic and open approach. Let's see. Has a vision. I think it's important that leaders have a vision, and when they are losing their vision, that they have a supportive team around them to expand their visions. I know myself, I've had to reinvent myself a few times, and I think that kind of, I don't by no means compare myself to Kim Kardashian or the Kardashians, but I'm very big picture, and I look at industries, not just our industry. And, you know, the Kardashians have had to reinvent and keep drama and come here and go here and over here. And sometimes having those visions, having those intentions, we need some other people to just, you know, help us out, set out that foundation, keep our intentions clear, and help support them as well. We need people that have the ability and the great strength, probably. How many of you guys handle stress well? I like to relate it back to what I know are ways that we deal with trauma, which is fight, flight, and freeze. How many of you guys are willing to admit or just share with us if you typically respond to anything that happens traumatically in a fight, flight, or freeze mode? I like to talk to my team as though we're a ship. And I remember one day in our salon, we'd brought in some new assistants. We have an assistant program. We're training them. We have 14 working stations. Saturdays are busy. We double book. And we have about 3 assistants on deck and 1 or 2 front desk receptionists. And the assistants were looking over the booking, and as they were looking at the booking, they just came to the back room. It was like the beginning of the day, and they were just like, oh my God, like this is going to be too much. Like, what are we going to do? And it was just like this negative kind of like doubt and like frustrations and just like pure reactiveness, right? And I just looked at the girls and I was like, guys, like, what is it? You know, what's going on? And then I just had to stop and say, guys, we're not in the game yet. You know, it's good to be prepared. So here's how we're going to do that. Here's your area to focus on. Here's your area to focus on. Here's your area to focus on. And these are the roles within those areas. Now, it's important to communicate. You know, you guys have to understand, as, you know, if we compare ourselves to a ship, the water is going to not be still all the time. And the waves are not going to be calm. And you know, everybody has an important role on the ship to be of value and to help support all of the needs, right? So I know different days, different situations brings out different fight, flight, freeze feelings for me. But the ability to be neutral is a very, very powerful tool. I agree with you. I think being neutral is important because a lot of us struggle with being very high or very low. And some of us deal with being both very high and very low. You guys agree? A leader always has good integrity, good intentions, and has the respect. It's earned the respect because it has good integrity. And that means that you keep your intentions pure and you stay focused on what those goals and intentions are. And you embody them. And, you know, I know we shared earlier that it's important that the leaders are in the trenches with you. And they're not, you know, barking orders at you or asking you to do things that they're not willing to do, but they're right there alongside of you, supporting you. And we need leaders that take ownership and accountability, right? Because it's really easy for us to point blame at others. It's really easy for us to really struggle with self-doubt and our own insecurities and our own weak areas. Leaders and leadership mindsets always take personal accountability. And in saying that, they take ownership. They're good about apologizing and being awakened to that personal development. I know Willie and I were talking earlier, and it's heavy when you are practicing all of this. This is a lot of personal work. And personal work for me was not something I was even enlightened to that I needed to be mindful of. When I came into hair out of hair school, I graduated with honors. I had a assistant program faster than anybody in their head, and I reaped the rewards of that. But I didn't realize how much personal development I needed to be able to actually be responsible enough. You know, they say with great power comes great responsibility. I always knew the weight of the responsibility that was on my shoulders as somebody that took mentoring seriously, as somebody who thought about the things I did and having good intention on authenticity behind it. That has always been important to me, that you have to have good integrity. All right, guys. So we've listed out a lot of really great traits. You guys listed out some additional on top of that. And now I kind of want you guys to take a second and think for yourselves. Are these qualities things that you yourself are also mirroring and putting out into your relationships and your work environment or your school? Are you expecting others to exude these same characteristics, and are you mirroring and matching that energy yourself? So take some time, give yourself a second. And I think it's important that we ask ourselves this, because oftentimes we have high expectations put on leaders, but leaders cannot rally everybody. They can't be the entire backbone. They are the head of the ship, but it takes mirroring that, and it takes a give and take of those relationships, not just because it's the responsibility of that business owner, or because we have an illusion that maybe they're just making so much money and they're in their office all the time. But having that level of perspective, having that level of relationship will avoid a lot of those struggles that salons face, salon owners face, and we face as individuals. So I think it's important to ask yourselves if we're carrying these types of characteristics in our relationships. And that's going to be important if you want to be an educator. That's going to be important if you want to work for brands and you want to be on teams, because putting yourself out there is extremely vulnerable. And you would be surprised how many of you guys have looked at celebrities, and when the paparazzi are following them around, and they are, their lives kind of get a little bit taken away from them. They're in tabloids, and people say, well, like, I don't feel sorry for them. Like, what a great life they live, and what did they expect? How many of you guys would have the empathy to understand that that's kind of a loaded, perspective, that those people probably struggle in lots of ways, and the way that we value success is very different from person to person. And you would be surprised on the mental toll that it takes when you're open and you're vulnerable and you start sharing and you start pouring all of your heart and your passion out, and what you want to receive back. Yes, I agree. Each trait is a great weekly goal. And we are human, right? So these are all positive characteristics. Right now, does that mean we all are going to be perfect leaders and perfect humans and perfectly interactive with people? Absolutely not. Does that mean that I'm perfect? Absolutely not. So let's get into that, because I think that that's where these comments and some of these things, conversations are also heading. We are all imperfect humans. Absolutely. I agree with that. But being mindful and practicing what we want from relationships will be the best gift that we could give and we can receive. It's going to allow for much healthier, natural relationships. It's going to allow the givers and the takers to have better boundaries. Boundaries are not set to be offensive to others, but they're there to protect those who need boundaries, right? But a lot of what salons deal with, a lot of the insecurities that we personally deal with, comes from having a little bit of that ego that we build into our career. And we have to think of our career as a servant career. Now, don't confuse that with, being abused or not having boundaries or just giving your all to people so that they can take advantage. Mastering that strength and developing through those relationships and those situations is the only way you're going to be able to do that, and do that naturally and authentically. But having a servant attitude allows you to start stripping away your ego that we have to build in order to do our job, because confidence, for me speaking and from what I feel and my understanding, is confidence is a good thing. That's our good side of our ego. And then we have, when we dial that confidence up, where it's not a healthy thing. And I can just personally attest to that and speak to that, because I was nothing before hair. And I mean that with my whole heart. I was a good human, and I had a lot of heart, and I overcame a lot of circumstances, but I built who I was being a hairdresser. So a lot of my confidence came from hairdressing. And then I became this social media socialite, and all my clients began to want to know more. And every time they came to their appointment, it was, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What about now? And what about that situation? And I was oversharing and overgiving and didn't have balance. It was really out of whack with that. And I allowed a lot of that me, I, without really realizing at the time. And of course, as hairstylists, these are relationships, and it's hard. It's probably the most taxing thing on us, is what relationships and professional relationships we need to maintain behind the chair. Take the skill set completely away, strip that away. It's seeing them every 6 weeks or seeing them every 12 weeks and being able to connect to them personally, but also being able to set those boundaries so that we have good, healthy professional relationships also. That was not my skill. And I thought of hair as a passion project for the most part. A lot of what I have given has been just from a pure place of enjoying seeing other people grow and for them to have things that they've dreamed about. I love American Idol and The Voice. I love watching people sing their hearts out, and for them to have those like golden buzzer moments. Those are my favorite. So having that serving attitude, I see it in our salons all the time. And in my salon, we try to make everything fair and equal. We set the expectations. We're very clear. We have an attitude of, when you're not busy, if you can help a fellow coworker, that's what you're doing. You have to love practice as much as you love the game. And we want everyone to embody that, because it's a culture that our clients, first and foremost, it's vital to their experience. We want them to know that we're here for all of them, and that we're here to have a good experience with them and a positive experience. It's, not just about the hair, especially now more than ever. As somebody who's still working to keep my salon alive, I have been doing product orders. I've been getting creative with ideas so that some like us who have not received any type of relief, we're still able to afford our overhead. So I have stylists and people who want to get close to me because they're like, what do you have to give me? And I'm not saying that that's not human nature. That's very much human nature. But as a person who takes a lot of time out for a lot of people, who answers messages, who shares free education, who's open and vulnerable, who takes a lot of time away from my work and my family, those things are not owed, they're earned. And I've had to learn that people are not entitled to that from me. They have to work, because I've taken tools, I've taken instructions to certain people, and I've had all different reactions from those people and from their stage in their life. Some people, you can have the instructions and you can have the guidance. You can be right next to them building the house, and they're going to be like, yeah, oh my God, thank you so much. Yeah. Pass me the hammer. I got the nails. Like, cool. No, you go get yourself a glass of water. I got this. You got somebody else that's like, yeah. Cool. Thank you. Thanks so much. Yeah. No, yeah. The nails are over there. and yeah, the wood's over there. And, oh yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you helping me build this house. And they're maybe not as involved. And you have some people that you can lay it out in front of them and they're just like, I just want a fort. I don't actually want a house. Like, this is cool. I'm good with a fort. I'm happy. I'm minimal. You guys get the idea. And so you have to learn that, you know, if you want something, it's all about your actions and what you're willing to do to get there. And it's important to have this self-discipline. It's important to be prepared for those places that you're going to go, because when you have to take big leaps, like when you become an educator, you're not making good money. And anybody that tells you different, anybody that you see on Instagram as social media stars, I'm promising, you know, I know them personally. I was there at the beginning of their lives and their journeys, and I know personal, intimate details of them and myself. And what we had to sacrifice was a lot of loss up front. And it wasn't for any other reason other than Paul Bryant making me a share owner, that I was able to do what I've been able to do. Because being on the road, you're going to lose your business behind the chair. And when you start to refocus yourself and you're just one big whole piece and you start, you know, slicing off those pieces of cake, you're taking more and more and more away from yourself. You're taking more away from your family. You're taking more away from your personal friendships and relationships. You're taking more away from yourself. Right now is a good example of that. Right now, we have the opportunity to sit back, get intentional, quiet things down, see what it is that we really want and how we measure success, because not everybody is meant for this. You know, I've had people that have come into my life and they thought that maybe this is like, they're like, girl, I just want to be you. And I paint this picture in its glory and in its bitter. And some people are like, you know what, I changed my goals. Like, this is a season where I really want to be just, you know, minimal. And I want to focus on my behind the chair business and really strengthen that and strengthen those relationships and my skills. And other people are going to be in different seasons where they want to be more adventurous and they are excited to challenge themselves and they're going to push boundaries and it's going to push them back. And it's important to kind of know what you're getting yourself into in those ways and what you will probably have to sacrifice to get there. Teamwork always makes the dream work. It always does. I've consistently been able to watch from this year, we've been a year open. My salon made $1 million, over $1 million in its first year. We're the second largest Paul Bryant buyer in the world for color, next to Butterfly Loft Salon. And we have great relationships with all the brands that we carry in our salon. We have great relationships with R&Co, with Davines, as well as Paul Bryant and our skincare. And it's not because of Paul Bryant or because I have this Instagram following. I've lost engagement so much over the last couple of years. I've only ever been authentic. I've never bought a follower. I've never bought a like. I've never joined circles where we shout out each other. I've just kept mine at my work, my content, my heart, and continue to try to move to where I would like to continue to see myself grow to. And that's sometimes ever changing, sometimes overwhelming, and sometimes I have to remember to slow myself down. And I know somebody shared earlier, just take it bite size by bite size. It's taken me 10 years to have the personal development and the personal passion and excitement to be here where I am. So don't be hard on yourself, but be open and be aware and be flexible to different mindsets. And I have a book I want to recommend to you guys for anybody that just wants to expand. We're going to get ready to start our question or Q&A. But there's a really great book that I think everybody should start with. And this, again, is just going to improve your spouse relationships, your family relationships, your work relationships. This is just a mindset of how people can be better to each other in pairs. Have you ever had that friendship, or, you know, it's why that rumor is always like, you can't have an even number of friend group because somebody's going to get jealous. If you're interested in personal development, if you're interested in personal work, then that's going to be for you. That book is called The Culture Code. And it just talks about how to be open-minded and what are some of the best ways to communicate with people, what have been some really successful situations and how were they successful even if they were really challenging. And so it's a great book to start off with. It's a great book to just dive into for some personal work. All right, Willie, let's see. I think we got 20 minutes, so why don't we go ahead and start a Q&A. I know I won't be able to keep up with comments because comments were coming in, but I couldn't see the full. So I'm going to have Willie moderate for me if that's all right. The book is called The Culture Code. I am located in Chesapeake, Virginia. Yeah, of course, you're welcome. My Instagram name, thanks for asking. It's XO Stylist XO. So X's and O's and Stylist. Yes, you got it. That's right. Oh, I used to live in Deep Creek. So we are, it was formerly the Ron Paul Salon, if you're familiar with Chesapeake. We're 2 doors down from Salon Centric. So lucky. And we totally remodeled our space. That's our spa. I hand built these hanging floral chandeliers. And then we have an 8-foot by 11-foot one at our back shampoo bowl. You guys are welcome to ask me anything. I know I've had a lot of time with you guys and been able to really dive into, let's see. Yes, that is by, oh, okay. So I'm still working the Zoom. Sorry, guys. I was like, wait, what is the Q&A? So yes, that is by, is it Daniel? You have it right. You have the right author. The Culture Code. How many hours do I work a week? Now, that's a great question. So if you're asking me how many hours I work behind the chair a week, I work 3 days behind the chair, and I work anywhere from 8 to 12 hours working behind the chair, and of course, always managing and being available for operations, because problem solving happens every day. So 3 days a week I'm behind the chair, and outside of that, so let's say that's about 30 hours there. I come and manage 2 to 3 other days of the week. So I'm here from about 5 or 6 hours, and I'm doing education. We do education about 2 Mondays a month. So I would say average. And then I also run our social media, repost our team's work. I probably work an average of 60 to 80 hours a week. Easily. Very easily. Willie, if you want to jump on here, I can see some of these questions, but I can't see their full.
Yeah, no, I got you. When you left cosmetology school, did you go directly to booth renting, or did you assist somewhere before?
Yeah, no, I assisted first. I recommend everybody to assist. Again, when we talk about that servitude or that upfront sacrifice, you have to find a salon that's the right salon. And I'm telling you, I left my interview crying, and I worked a tattoo apprenticeship before this apprenticeship. So I went through some pretty brutal things in a tattoo apprenticeship, but I knew that this was going to push me very personally and professionally. So I was very intimidated about it. During that time, actually about 3 months into my apprenticeship, my husband lost his business. He's been a stay-at-home dad ever since, 8 years later. And there was a huge amount of pressure, being paid only $8 an hour and making tips. And of course, I was ripped apart soulfully every day because I had so much personal development to do. So most insecure, most hard thing, but there was so much education that was built into me. And I really respected them. And it was a great foundation for me to set a super solid foundation. I actually left there and I went into a salon that was the complete opposite. I was there a very short amount of time. I went from dyeing my hair from bright red to doing, at the time, this is 6 years ago, it was just reminded to me on Facebook. I went from bright red, and then I had my coworker spend 7 hours color melting to blue and to purple to pink. And this is a time where that was shocking. And I was fired for it on my birthday weekend because we didn't want that type of clientele and what we're going to do to remove it and la-da-da. So 2 years into being somewhat of a stable stylist, I went into booth renting. And there's a lot I want to share in that. We definitely don't have time for that, but that was a huge risk, and it paid out really well. But I definitely struggled a bit on the professional side of that. It's good with creative, good with building clients, good with building a book, but a lot of the needs as a business person, I had to learn very painfully.
All right. So, how important is attitude while being a student?
Super important. Attitude in every situation is super critical. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't have to be the most skilled. I promise you, it's not the skill, it's the will. Everybody that's been hired in my salon this time around, I hired people who had a lot of room to grow because they had a big heart and will for it. And, you know, having a positive attitude cuts out all of this extra unnecessariness. You know, there are people in my salon that I don't get to have hands on as much as I'd like because there's disruption over here and I'm problem solving and spending way too much energy unnecessarily over here. And I've had to learn those growing pains and become more like, you know what? No, I'm protecting that energy. I'm going to pour into those people that are positive, that are respectful, and who are aggressively eager to those goals. I can always like reel somebody back, but I can't invoke that fire start for them.
What were the 3 best things you did upon graduating school that helped build your clientele and helped you learn what kind of clientele you wanted to attract?
Great questions, guys. I love you. So first and foremost, in hair school at a time where people weren't really like building portfolios. So 10 years ago, I was building a portfolio. I had a big book. I walked into those interviews with that big book. And when, you know, that salon that ended up taking a moment for me because not every salon did, he walked away from his chair, saw I had a portfolio and went through each page. So what I already started doing is in hair school. And then once I got into the phase 2 program where I got to have my hands in a lot of hair, I very much took photos, took good photos, found good lighting, had a passion for photography kind of early on. I think that's where that extra drive came from. And I just continued to put it out, and I didn't pay attention to everybody that didn't like it because most often people didn't like it. And I worked at that for like 3 to 4 years, just getting people to come in. And that worked, like just simply utilizing social media. I promise is such an amazing tool. And we can be very insecure. And especially now when the bar is like, oh my God, here, but you have to put it out and you have to build your community. Right now, it's not lost upon me. I want to share a creative idea that I've done as a salon owner that I can just tell if somebody hadn't shared this idea with me, it wouldn't have benefited my salon the way it has been able to. And again, just contributing to keeping us alive and weathering the storm. But also just the community behind it, that it wouldn't be possible if I had not built a community behind me. So you have to build yourself, your brand, who you are, your point of difference. Let people know you're excited. Share your ideas. Be an over-enthusiastic penguin to certain degrees. And you have to just have a positive attitude. Be open. Try new things. Try everything. And stay focused for sure.
Why is teachability so important in an industry like ours that's always changing or remaining teachable?
Right. So that's super important because, you know, we all have a very higher vibration of sensing people's energy. And, you know, to be a mentor, to take time to want to teach somebody takes a lot, right? You have to find their language, how to educate them properly. So having somebody that can allow you to enter their space and who can have a trust in you that you're not there to judge them, that you are not going to judge yourself. You're going to allow room to shut off all of that judgment. Because guys, imagine me, right? I have a good friend, Anthony Edge, Willie knows him. And last year, I've never taken a professional cutting class. I've never, 10 years, guys, have taken a professional cutting class. My first hair show, my first convention was ISSE, and I was performing it on the main stage. Like, I've never taken professional classes. And what happened is if I allowed my insecurity to be very loud and to hold me back from going and, you know, soaking up education for myself, thinking everybody, you know, I get recognized very often. Most of the time when I'm at conventions, especially, I'm, you know, pulled in different directions, which I'm really excited and grateful for. But there is insecurity going into a class and being like, are they going to be like, wow, like, that's how she fucking cuts a grad, you know? You get intimidated. And I know that my friend Anthony Edge, who's been in the industry a lot longer, was like, hey, come just do one-on-one with me so that you don't have to have all that insecurity in your mind. Like, we can build our own relationship. Because of course I look up to him. So there's natural intimidation behind that in this, like, well, I should know this, right? I should know this. I have people who I work with in my salon, and here's what breaks my heart. I have a few that I know no matter how I bring them the education, that I have to work a little bit harder because they're not really able to listen, because in their mind, they're just thinking how how bad it is that they don't know or that they don't want to ask questions. And I know this from my own educational disabilities growing up. And I played violin, actually, fun fact, not so fun. I played violin for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 4 years. I kept saying 6, but it was 4 years. Long time. And I decided to compete in a competition. And I had a prepared piece. I listened to it. I learned it. I played it. Fun fact, I actually never knew how to read music. I was at the very back of the class, and I played violin, and I had learned, and I would practice by sound over and over and over and over and over. And I'm telling you, this is the only way I knew how to play, because I was so embarrassed that I'd went a year, every month, built more and more anxiety. So I had no idea, because I, again, learning disability, that in this competition, which I placed second in, that they were going to prepare a piece for me. So here I am after phase 1 into phase 2, and I totally shut down and I couldn't play. And my music teacher's looking at me like, what? Like, let's go. And I just totally lost it and was like, I don't know how to read music. And I quit violin after that, which is very depressing. I wish I had a better ending, but I quit. And, it was something because I just couldn't get over the fact that I should know. And I didn't know what I didn't know. And I didn't know how to search out throughout my insecurity for it.
I know how important education is for me. I take a lot of education. I always have. What are your thoughts on how often do you offer education in your salon, which I know you touched on? What would you recommend for people who are maybe just hair cutters or just colorists? How many times a year for external or continued education?
That's a great question. It depends on your goals. It really does. That's a very internal question. As a salon who started with everybody, we were kind of unique in that way. We had over, in 1 year's time, 130 educational hours. So there were months where we had 2 to 3 Mondays a month, and that would have been public speaking, consultation, having other stylists who want to become educators, facilitating education on vivid colors, natural colors. I did teamwork. So I took them out on a field. I showed analogies, like I had a big tug of war rope. I was on one side. I made the rest of them be on the other side and pull me. So I could use the visual example of what it's like to be pulled as one individual. And then I put my other managers on me and how still that weight was, disproportioned. And we think it's very important because I really believe that you have to love practice as much as you love the game. But I've also seen sometimes where a little bit too much education can build burnout, resentment and things like that. And you don't want burnout on the educators who are preparing and working all that extra effort to bring the education. And you don't want to create uncomfortable situations. So I think that you have to be very open with your team. I think that you need to stay focused and helpful on those who are matching the energy and ready to build that house. And I think that you need to play a supportive role to other members, but you need people to have that spark and that self-initiative with you. So that would be my thoughts on that.
That's great. Well, I have one thing, because I know there's a lot of students on here. If you can do yourself one favor, any salon you're interviewing at, add this question to your arsenal. How often do you offer continued education in the salon?
Yeah.
Right? I think it's so important to find a salon owner like yourself and owners that I've been lucky enough to work for. They invest in education. They invest in their team. It's so, so important.
Absolutely. And it's important because, at the end of the day, we all are here for businesses, but we all are here to achieve our goals. There is an I in our, right? Like not in the actual word, but there is an importance of us as individual and what our needs are. So I do think that you have to know that, people that are giving you these tools, whether it's personal, professional, skillful, these are things you can never have taken away from you. That is something we call a slingshot method here. Like our slingshot is like, you're going to feel like I'm pulling you back. You're going to feel like stretched thin, but that's to set us. It's to set all those good intentions, good foundation. And then you're just going to explode. You're going to get that momentum. And I've just seen that through experience that we all catch that momentum. When we start doing things and setting those intentions, law of attraction happens. And then sometimes it goes even faster than you can manage, which I've experienced as well. for allowing me the time to spend with you guys. I know there's so many ways that we can enjoy time in our day. And so your time is very valuable to me, and just your interaction and engagement. And I just hope that this helps any of you guys with your personal journeys. And, I'm always here and available if you guys need anything throughout your journey, whether you're in hair school or graduating, or you're looking for the right salon for you. If you're a salon owner and you need help setting those educational programs, we have an amazing assistant program. We've been trying to give a lot of resources for hairdressers right now. I know it's heavy to talk about COVID during this time, but obviously we're here because of it. But we are here to just share ourselves with you guys and to help support you. We have come together to be as prepared as we can moving forward in this reopening. Look, I was like, let's get MTV tours. Okay, as I'm finishing up, I'll give you guys a quick little MTV tour. It's not in its best shape because I've been in here doing alien costuming and raffles and all that good jazz. But I hope that you guys dream big and stay motivated. And that's our retail. My brother handmade that medal. This is our selfie mirror, and everybody loves a good selfie mirror. This is where we get all of our clients to take selfies and let everyone know that they were here. This is what I come in here to do. This is my signature light sourcing technique. Been working on this for 4 years. It's evolved so many different ways, but I always like to have fun and stay creative. Let me show you that one last area, just because I know you guys will love this. This is what is my favorite part, other than the processing area. Our lights are not on, so forgive me. But I put every flower in that baby. So when you are getting shampooed, let's see if I wish the lighting was a little better. Let's see. That's what you get to see. Shampoo. That's our balayage mannequin doll for our clients. And then that's your view. And then what's really nice is you get to see all the magic happen here at our color bar. So we've got that. That's our lounge, our personal break room, where we've got lots of motivation and inspiration. I also painted that wall. That's my favorite little giraffe. And then I'll show you the last area. That's my favorite. That's where a lot of magic happens, right? Almost done, Willie. We'll take them in here, and then our retail. My scooter. Need to get it home. And this is our processing area. Let me set the mood lighting if I can. And we have a spa back here. So those are our massage rooms. Here we go. This is our little secret garden. This usually lights up down here. That's my little board for selling retail and giving prizes away last night. But this is where our clients hang out, relax, get introduced to our spa. Each spa room, this is our jade room. And this is where we do massages. We have barn doors, so those can open. You can do a dual massage. Refreshments, all the yummies, cabana style. You can also ring for cabana service. Maybe someone will come. This was a dream. Thank you, Pope Riot. And this is the inspiration station, AKA your girl's office. That's my office. And then one of our favorite rooms in here, my birthstone is emerald. This is our emerald room. This is where all the skincare happens. It's not in its full sorts and glory because, well, we've been shut down. But, yep, that's mood lighting. And this is where all the skincare happens. Emerald, amethyst, and jade. And then one of the most important rooms, the laundry. Keep all of our needs met. Hope you guys like my quick little MTV EXO Hair Lab tour. Fighting real hard for my salon. Praying hard, fighting hard, and really grateful, just full of gratitude So thank you guys again. If you want to know us a little bit more intimately, go follow us on Instagram at XO Hair Lab. If you guys want anything else from the day-to-day, just let me know. Otherwise, I've had an awesome time hanging out with you guys.
Big hug. Thank you.
Big hugs. Yes, absolutely. Bye, guys.